All right, so we're gonna do yoga for a nice sound sleep tonight. My history is that I actually worked in a sleep disorders clinic about 20 years ago at Rush Medical Center in Chicago. So I learned a lot about the various sleep disorders and how to treat it from more of a behavioral perspective. And I myself have been an intermittent insomniac for much of my life. So I can trace that all the way back to being a small child. And the night before the first day of school, I could never sleep. And now, of course, one of my children is an insomniac. So I know the power of sleep, and I know the anxiety and the fear that can come around when you're not able to sleep. So, most of the insomnia that I actually work with in my psychology practice is what I would call sleep maintenance insomnia. It's where you can fall asleep, but then you wake up in the middle of the night and your mind is racing, and then you can't fall back asleep. And I would say, pretty much, if I can make one blanket statement, most people's sleep problems revolve around the busy mind, right? So, all insomnia is related to stress. And obviously, our whole world is dealing with high levels of stress and a lot of unknown right now. So for many of us, sleep is being disrupted. I've also heard the opposite, that right now people are sleeping a lot more, which I think could be good as a way just to rest, a way to rest and kind of recuperate ourselves. But for most of us, we're also in a little bit of hyper arousal right now. So I'm sure you are feeling that as well as me, that no matter what, our systems are just a little bit more aroused. We're more in that sympathetic nervous system response, that sort of fight, flight, freeze response, versus being more in this parasympathetic nervous system response, which is where we want to be, especially if we want to sleep. So we're going to work on sort of bringing us back to more of that parasympathetic nervous system response. And there's some great research on this around yoga and sleep. And right now, the research is showing that the reason yoga is so helpful for sleep is one of four things, or potentially all four things. The first one we know is that yoga is helping us reduce our muscle tension. The second thing that yoga helps us do is it lowers the cortisol, one of the stress hormones in our body. The third thing it does is it changes our breath patterns. And so we tend to start to breathe deeper and breathe more in the belly, that diaphragmatic breathing. And there's studies that show yoga breathing is helping us increase our CO2 levels. And interestingly enough, CO2 is a natural sedative. So if we can, we're going to work a lot with breath near the end of our practice tonight as a way to sort of sedate our brains so that hopefully tonight we just slip easily into deep sleep. And then last but not least, various yoga practices have also been shown to increase our natural melatonin production, which of course we all know helps aid sleep. So I'm very excited to share this practice with you tonight, not only to help all of you sleep, but also maybe it will help me sleep a little bit more soundly as well. So I want to, if you were all here, I would have a chance to sort of talk and interact with you about what you're most needing. But there's sort of two approaches from the yoga side of things for how we improve sleep. And the first one is more just a straight restorative practice, lots of restful poses, lots of stillness, long shavasana. And the second way to go about it is this idea that maybe first, especially if there's high levels of anxiety and tension, that we may need to burn some of that off to begin with, right? So we may need to really go through somewhat of a more active practice as a way to sort of burn off some of that intensity. So then we have the capacity to actually dip down a little bit more deeply into a deep restoration. So I think that's the game plan for us tonight. It's not going to be an intense class. It's a very gentle yoga class, but there will be some movement, engagement of the muscles, a little bit of using of the muscles so that we can all burn off some of this intensity that we seem to all be carrying these days. And then the last part of the practice will definitely be more restorative. And in particular, it's going to be some supported inversions, because we know inversions are really helpful at inducing sleep. So we'll be working towards a supported shoulder stand, and we'll also be working towards legs up the wall, or for me, legs up the pole. Okay, and finally, the last thing we're going to work with, and I'll bring this in near the end, is a very particular mantra that my teacher Deepak Chopra taught me to manage anxiety. So I've been using this mantra in the middle of the night for years now, and I don't know how it works or why it works, but it works. So I'll be sharing with that with all of you at the end as well. So let's just start by centering in, sort of letting this day go, transitioning from this more active mind state into a more focused body state. So sort of dropping, I was thinking about sort of melting our heads down into our body. So moving attention from thinking, analyzing, rational mind, and seeing if we can move it down into the body. So you can sit on a chair right now. You could sit cross-legged on your yoga mat. Let's work with mudra. Thumb and pointer finger come together to lightly touch and palms space down on the thighs. So before you close your eyes, really root into the pelvis. You might even sort of rock side to side. And then ensure that your spine is as long and tall as possible. So feel that low back slightly draw in and up. Feel the spine lengthen up. Let the shoulders relax. Feel your skin start to soften. And then when you feel ready, you can close your eyes. You might even create just a very, very subtle tuck of the chin. And when you do this, the sides of the throat gently draw back. And then as we created a mudra with our hands, you actually can also create a mudra with your tongue. And so if you place the tip of your tongue right behind your two front teeth, right on the roof of the mouth, this again creates a very calming sense for the mind. It sort of allows the brain to begin to slow down and to begin to settle. So whatever evolved for you in this day, whether it was isolation or it was a lot of busy interaction on the computer or your phone, just really commit that for this next hour or so, it really truly is about you. It's about you taking the time to move inward. It's creating some sacred space here for you to feel. And above all, it's giving us all the opportunity to allow our nervous systems, which are a bit frazzled these days, to start to settle and really begin to sink into this deeper state that we're all capable of, where the body can heal, the body can rest, where the body can regenerate. So already, as you start this practice, just feel the body, feel your pelvis, feel the perhaps slight bend in the knees, and notice the sensation of where your feet touch the floor. So as you continue to keep awareness in your pelvis and in your feet, can you let your pelvis and your feet just sort of settle or descend just slightly deeper into wherever you're sitting? And then as the base of your body, which is your feet and your pelvis right now, continue to settle and ground into the earth. Just let your awareness gently transition to feeling more attention in your hands. Noticing the sensation of air on your hands right now. Feel that mudra that you created where the thumb and the pointer finger lightly touch. And maybe even sense into tingling or just enhanced awareness in the palms of your left hand and your right. Now let your attention move right behind your navel center. And begin to breathe more deeply into the navel center. So as you inhale, the belly really expands. And as you exhale, there's a natural softening of the navel back towards the spine on the exhale. And as you inhale, the belly expands. As you exhale, there's a softening. So stay with these nice deep belly breaths. And if you find that it feels maybe foreign or slightly uncomfortable or even maybe a bit agitating, know that that's actually quite normal. So when we are in our stress response mode, we are breathing more in our chest than in our belly. And of course, it's very unconscious. We're just doing it. We're not thinking about it. So as we sort of try to transition back to the way our bodies are designed to breathe, which is deep down into the belly, we might just notice a little discomfort. So that's really okay. By the end of this practice, again, without thinking, you'll be naturally breathing into the belly. But if it's not the case yet, again, have patience, kindness, and non-judgment for yourself. All right, and then we'll bring hands together in front of the heart. Palms come together to lightly touch. I always like to provide some space to set intention. It's such a beautiful part of the practice to take a moment to get clear on what you'd like to receive from the time and the effort you commit to this practice tonight. It would be a very simple intention of I would like to sleep deeply and restoratively tonight. It might just be I'd like to release stress and tension from my body and my mind. Perhaps I'd like to cultivate more inner awareness or more inner compassion. I always think about when we set intention, it's more as if you're receiving the intention than you are creating it. So see what comes into your heart and mind. And then as a way for us to sort of seal that intention and begin the practice, we'll chant together the sound of Om. And I know even though we're not all gathered in the same room, joining our voices, sort of an energetic linking that happens when we chant. And from a scientific perspective, when we chant, our amygdala starts to quiet down. Amygdala is the part of the brain that registers fear. So chanting, oh, it's so good at calming down our minds. So we'll chant together the sound of one Om, which has 3 syllables, ah, oo. Take a nice full deep breath in. Let out all the breath. So blow out every bit of that breath, even that last little bit that we often hang on to. Then full deep breath in to chant. And full inhale. And deep full exhale. And as you exhale this time, just begin to bow gently towards your hands and towards your heart. And you'll slowly lift your head and open your eyes. So I'm going to stay seated just for the next couple moments, a little closer to the computer so you can see my face. And then eventually I'll move back to my yoga mat. But we're going to stay seated. If you've been cross-legged, you might notice that your knees are a little bit achy. So you could certainly straighten your legs and sort of bounce your knees out a bit. And then maybe recross the legs. Or you might still be sitting on a chair on the edge of the couch. That's completely fine. So we're going to start with a little bit of opening for our neck and our shoulders. We'll start to reconnect to the breath, do some simple twisting and some forward folding, and then we'll go into a couple gentle sun salutes. So let's take a nice deep breath in, again, feeling that nice long spine, and then drop your right ear down towards your right shoulder. So getting a nice stretch up this left side. In fact, think about your left side sort of dropping down. And if you want even more sensation, you'll take your right hand to the temple and just give a little extra traction. This is a super subtle cue, but if you can slightly tuck the chin and draw it back, you actually open up space in the back of the brainstem, which is, again, the fight-flight response. So create a little bit more space back there. Let's take a breath in And then exhale, stay. Maybe the right ear drops towards the right shoulder just a bit more. Breathing deeply into the belly again, inhale. And then exhale, come back up to center. Drop chin towards chest, stretching through the back of the neck. Even with the chest towards the chin, there's still this capacity for you to slightly draw the chin back. And again, where you should be feeling this most is right at the back of the neck where the neck meets the skull. Again, these are all little tools that help our nervous system re-regulate. And then lift back to center, take a deep breath in. Exhale, left ear now down towards the left shoulder. Your focus is on letting your right shoulder drop a little bit more. And again, if you want more traction or sensation, just place a hand on the outside or of the right temple or maybe more the top of the head. Take a breath. Soften into it. Let that right shoulder drop. And again, that very subtle tuck of the chin. The chin slightly draws back, which lengthens you up through the back of the neck. Let's take a breath in, come back to center. Think about long giraffe neck, slight drawing of the chin back, shoulders relax down. It should be perhaps a different experience for you, especially as we're spending a lot more time online. This is happening. So the more you can let those shoulders really relax down, tall neck, slight drawing of the chin back. All right, let's keep this action in the top of the body as we take a breath in, and then exhale, just gently twist to the right. So the left hand will come across the body. Maybe back of the hand is pressing into the outside of the right leg, twisting to the right. It's our first twist of the night, so allow it to be gentle. Your gaze might be down towards the floor, or even over the right shoulder down towards the floor. Even though it's more challenging to breathe deeply in a twist, because your diaphragm is actually twisted right now, as best as you can, breathe into that low belly. And as you exhale from the left waistline, can you twist to the right just a little more? So our twist, no, we're twisting to the right. The twist should initiate from your left side. Take a breath as an inhale to come back to center. Twists are actually super intense for the body, and if you're really conscious when you release the twist, you might feel sort of a rush of prana or energy flow up the spine. Let's do it on the second side. So inhale, tall spine, little tuck of the chin. Exhale, twist to the left. So right hand comes across the body. Back of the hand is turned, so the back of the right hand pushes into the outside of the left knee. As you continue to sit tall, a little tuck of the chin, gaze is towards the floor, or maybe all the way over your left shoulder now. Breathe deeply into the belly. As you exhale from your right waistline, twist to the left. So some core engagement here as well. Take a breath, lengthen up. Exhale, let's stay for one more breath, twisting to the left. Inhale, come back to center. Inhale, arms float all the way up. Interlace your fingers and press those palms up towards the sky. Take a nice breath as you continue to root, but rise up. And then exhale, slowly lower the hands. So I'm going to transition now onto the yoga mat and adjust my camera so you can see me. I'm also going to put on a headset since I'm a little bit farther back so you can make sure that you still hear me. All right. So let's stay seated. All right, so we'll stay seated here for one more brief pose. And if you're not on a blanket, I'm just going to put a folded blanket underneath my seat. And then just from here, this cross-legged pose, begin to walk the hands forward. So we're going to do a variety of forward folds tonight. This is our first one. Forward folds are actually some of the more challenging of all the yoga poses. Not only because when you're standing, they're working with your hamstrings, but here, most people are feeling this quite intensely in the outer hips and maybe the low back. And it's actually really okay for us to feel our limits or feel the constriction or feel the boundaries in our body. And then realize we can breathe into that constriction and that tightness. And on an exhale, feel ourselves sort of settle or move slightly deeper into the pose. So keep working with your breath. And I certainly know that the longer we stay here, the more intense it becomes. And that's also great practice. I feel like that's one of the benefits of yoga is it teaches us how to be with intensity. It could be physical intensity, it could be mental intensity, and teaches us how to try to practice staying calm in the midst of it. So let's stay here for another 30 seconds or so. You might notice on the exhale, you can progressively go a little deeper. At the same time, see about pushing your sit bones back or your pelvis back. So as the pelvis roots towards the back while your fingers are walking towards the front wall of wherever you're practicing. And help to have little movements here, side to side, rocking action as a way to keep sort of the brain occupied and to unravel some of this tension we're all carrying. And on an inhale, slowly come all the way back upright. Draw your knees together. This should feel good. Straighten the legs and just bounce the knees several times. All right, from here, we'll come onto all fours. And so now you can place your props and all of your things off to the sides. If you do have a yoga block, always nice to have your yoga block nearby, right here at the front edge of your mat. You'll see tonight, once we get into our sun salutes, I'll take my socks off because socks can sort of slip on our yoga mat. But then I'll put them back on here once we get into restoratives. That's why I encourage you all to have socks because cold feet actually inhibit our ability to sleep and to rest deeply. So if you tend towards cold feet and insomnia, make sure you're always wearing socks to bed as a way to keep your nervous system relaxed. So keep socks on as long as you want tonight. All right, so we start in all fours, just letting the pelvis rock side to side a couple times in front to back. I like to start almost every practice I do with some circles in my hips. Again, the pelvis is such a repository of tension and tightness. And I always just feel the need to sort of stir it up, try to break up some of that armoring and tightness. Fear also is thought to live from a mind-body perspective deep down in the pelvis. So close your eyes and just let your pelvis move right now. Again, it could be just swaying side to side. You can have some really big movements. It could be much smaller movements. You can certainly have emotion rise up as you start to stir up the pelvis. All of these things are really quite normal. And then as you keep moving your pelvis, just breathe a little bit more consciously and deeply down into your belly. And then slow down the hips and the pelvis. On an inhale, tilt the pelvis forward and lift the heart, so cow pose. And as you exhale, round up like a cat. Feel the belly draw up and the head release. And just keep going here. Inhale, pelvis tilts, heart lifts. Exhale, round. Several more times, warming up our spine and trying to clear out some of that tension, whether you carry it mostly in your low back or maybe in your shoulders, your upper back. This first part of the practice that has a little bit more movement is just designed to help us release up some of that built up, pent up tension. One more set here. And then come back to neutral spine. Let's work our way into opening these shoulders a bit more by threading the needle. So inhale, the left arm will float into the sky. And as you exhale, thread this left arm underneath the right. So you'll come to rest on the outside of your the left side of your head. Right hand can be here, right, sort of in alignment with your eyes, your gaze, or you could walk this right arm forward for a little bit more of a stretch. Keep rooting the thighs back. Ribs sort of pull into the body. And if you bring a little more weight into your left knee, you can start to open more. So we're essentially trying to get the navel to spin up towards the right or up towards the sky. I also like to add a little bit of movement here. So moving my pelvis side to side tends to feel really good. And if you want a little bit more challenge, you can even extend this right leg back. So it's sort of like a lunge leg, running into a bolster here, but keep the toes curled under and keep the belly drawing up into the body. Take an inhale, and then as you exhale, slowly come out. Pause here again, just rock side to side a little bit. We'll take an inhale, tilting the pelvis forward to lift the heart. Stretch the shoulders back and the heart forward. And then as you exhale, it's almost as if the heart pulls into the upper back, chin tucks, let the neck go. All right, returning to neutral spine. This time we're moving onto the other side. So the right arm now will come underneath the left, resting onto the outside of the right head, right side of the head. You might be able to increase some of the sensation in the body. And by the way, that's what we're always looking for. Like, can we increase sensation? Can we feel more in this yoga pose? Because this beautiful thing happens when we feel more in our body, we feel more in our heart, in our mind, we just simply become more alive. So in this pose, if you really, in a way, press your right arm, your forearm down into the floor and sort of isometrically drag it back towards you, you'll get a little bit more sensation around your right scapula. You could roll more towards the back of the head. And left hand can stay in alignment with your gaze or extend forward for a nice big stretch up that left side. Bring more weight into your right knee. That gives you some more space to open into the twist. And that last but not least, you can certainly extend your left leg back. And again, any kind of movement here, left to right, that feels good. Give yourself that space to do so. And on an inhale, come all the way back out, back to all fours. Inhale, tilt the pelvis, lift the heart, cow pose. Exhale, round up like the cat. From here, from cat pose, stay in cat. And then walk your hands just slightly forward of your shoulders. We're going to come into our first downward facing dog. So wrists are forward of the shoulders. This is where my yoga teacher training kicks in. I always teach people to take off their socks so they don't slide on the yoga mat. But since I can't see you at home, if you're fine on your yoga mat with socks, feel free to do so. Otherwise, take them off. And then once you find yourself in dog, just move around a little bit. You can bend your knees, sway your hips. And then from here, we'll move into a forward fold. So hands walk back towards the feet. So you arrive at the back of the mat. Feet can be as wide as they need to be. So if the hamstrings are tight, I just encourage you to take your feet a little bit wider. Shake out the head. Maybe buzz the lips a little bit. Move your jaw from side to side. Move your pelvis from side to side. Bring your hands to your waist and root the whole pelvis towards the floor. And as you inhale, think about length, length, length through the spine as you rise all the way up. Beautiful. Come back to standing. You could be all the way towards the front edge of the mat. All right, so we're gonna go through just a very simple, slow, gentle, easy sun salute. Not necessarily for the purpose of heating the body too much, although, sorry, my science geekness comes out here. If you heat the body at night, then as your core body temperature falls, you become more tired. This is why a hot bath at night heats the body, and then as you get out, then as the body temperature drops, you get sleepy. So it's okay actually to heat our body right now because it might help us feel a little bit more tired after this practice. Sleep well. All right, so inhale, float the arms all the way up. And as you exhale, fold forward into your Uttanasana. Inhale, lengthen up halfway, so a tall, long spine. And then exhale, fold into yourself. From this forward fold, step the left foot back into a deep lunge. Now again, you may or may not have access to yoga props. If you have blocks can always be lovely under your hands. It just gives you a little bit more length here. Not necessary, but if you have them and like to use them, great. We're gonna add just a very simple twist here. Walk your right foot off to the right, so it's maybe all the way towards the edge of the mat. You just get a little bit more space for your pelvis. In fact, with all that space, you could even let your pelvis move side to side. Left hand's on the floor or on a block. Right hand stops at the waist. We first inhale to lengthen, so your left heel roots back, your heart extends forward, and then as you exhale, pull the right shoulder back. So you just get a little bit of twist here. You can keep your hand on your waist or you can extend your top arm up. We'll take a breath, and as you exhale, maybe twist deeper. So left shoulder moves towards the right knee, the low belly starts to twist up to the right. Take another breath here, and then exhale, release. Hands come down to the floor. We'll step back, downward facing dog. Inhale, float forward to plank, and then immediately lower the knees down. So instead of holding plank, we'll just drop the knees all the way down to the floor. But check out your own alignment that your wrists are directly over, your shoulders are directly over your wrist. From here, we're gonna bend the elbows, drop the chest and the chin to the floor, but keep your seat lifted. So nice big curve through the low back. Then straighten the legs. Keep the hands pressing into the earth, and on an inhale, rise up. Just a little baby cobra here, shoulders back, heart forward. Take a breath. Exhale, lower. Coming back through all fours, back through tabletop. Hands walk forward, toes curl under, downward facing dog. Again, walk it out a little bit, bend your knees, sway your hips. On an inhale, step the left foot between the hands, deep lunge. And you might find those blocks if you liked using blocks on the other side. Left foot walks way over to the left side of the mat. Right hand is on a block or on the floor. Left hand comes to your waist. Pause. Lengthen first. Back heel roots back. Heart extends forward. Now draw your left shoulder onto your back. Twist. Top arm lifts. As you stay here, you'll deepen the twist. Inhale. As you exhale, right shoulder towards the left knee. The belly twisting up to the left. Take a breath. Exhale, lower the hands down. Once again, step back to downward facing dog. And from here, we're gonna take a child's pose. So knees slowly drop to the earth. Take your knees quite wide. Maybe even all the way towards the edges of the mat. Big toes touch. Coming all the way down onto your forehead. So several variations. Your arms could either be all the way forward. You could stack your hands, forehead on your hands. You could have a block underneath the forehead. Or you could wrap your arms around towards your heels. So decide which variation feels best for you. And we're gonna stay in child's pose for 5 breaths. And come back to that diaphragmatic breathing, breathing into the belly. As you exhale, soften into the earth just a little more. So counting your breath. And then on this next inhale, come all the way back up. Be back to all fours. From all fours, back to down dog. And from down dog, transitioning back to that forward fold again. Head is shaking out. Little bend in those knees, micro bend in the knees. Hands come to the waist. Shoulders draw back. Inhale. Rising up. All right, back to the front of the mat. So let's together do that same sequence just one more time. But I'm going to encourage you on this last round, because yoga is such a mind-body practice. I'm going to ask you to bring your hands together in front of your heart and just take a moment to close your eyes, or if closing your eyes is challenging for your balance, you can just keep your gaze soft and rooted down towards the floor. We're going to dedicate this last sun salute, or this last flow sequence, to just releasing something. So twist and the heat of a sun salute can really help purify and cleanse the body. So again, without overthinking this, in fact, usually the best thing is the thing that pops into your mind first. What would be useful for you to release some of your grip on? Could be just your own fear and worry, could be job challenges, financial challenges, relationship challenges. Just what in this moment, this next sun salute, would you be willing to loosen your grip on just a little bit more? Keep that somewhere in the forefront of your mind, not as a way to stress you, but as the encouragement that you have sort of some tools here to really start to release and let things go. All right, so we're going to release the hands. Come back to belly, breathing. In fact, we're going to pause at the top of the mat and add some of that conscious breathing. So inhale, arms float out to the side, all the way up overhead. As you exhale, arms float back down. Now we're going to add some breath retention. So inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold out, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold out, 2, 3, 4. Last time. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold out. 2, 3, 4. Big inhale, stretch up. Big exhale, fold forward. So we were just doing what's called box breathing, holding breath retention. They teach it in the military now. It's a yogic breath, but they're teaching it now in the military because it's so calming for people's nervous systems. So inhale, look up halfway lift, and then exhale, fold. Inhale, step directly back to downward facing dog. Inhale, stretch the right leg up into the sky, just a little bit of three-legged dog. Bend the right knee, step the right foot through. Deep lunge. Again, hand could be on a block. We start with the right hand on the waist to lengthen first. So you get the lengthen action first. Then you start to open in a twist, a little twisted lunge here. Hand can remain on the waist, or arm can extend up, or you can even drop the arm in alignment with the ear. So you get a really big lateral stretch. No matter where you are, take a breath in to lengthen as you exhale. Feel your low left belly twisting up to the right. Open up a little more. Exhale, lower. Step back to down dog. So here's to us using these practices to help us let go of that which is burdening us. That's what is keeping us heavy. Trying to use these practices to purify and lighten up. Breathe forward. Inhale to plank. Exhale, we're going to lift back to dog. And then inhale forward again. Drop the knees, drop the chest and the chin. Slide onto the belly. Inhale, rise up. Just a little gentle back bend. Exhale, lower. Let's pause here. Turn onto one cheek. Allow the arms to just straighten up the side of the body. Breathing. Okay, hands back in alignment with the chest. Come back through all fours. Back to down dog. Inhale, left leg into the sky. Exhale, step the left foot through. Left hand to the waist, lengthen. Exhale, just a little twist. Doesn't really matter how deeply you twist. You're still getting this action in the core of twisting up to the left. You can really deepen it by pulling the left shoulder back, extending the arm up, either of these positions, or you can just keep the left hand on the waist. Take a breath. Exhale, lower the hand, step back to down dog, and then keep walking the hands back. Forward fold once again. Shake out the head. Hands come together, right? Or come to the waistline with an inhale. Rise up. All right, maybe feeling a little bit more free. It's really good to consciously and actively think about letting go. All right, so from here, we're going to stay standing before we come onto our backs and take a nice wide stance. So people always say, well, what do you mean by a wide stance? Of course, everyone has different anatomy, different leg lengths and arm lengths. Kind of an easy way, especially in this pose, we're going to fold forward. The wider sometimes the better, although you can get too wide and then it feels unsteady. So I'd say go as wide as feels comfortable without it feeling unsteady to you. Look at your feet. Edges of the feet are parallel to the front and back edge of the mat. And there can be just a slight toeing in of the feet. So just a little what we call an inner rotation. Hands come to the pelvis, really root that pelvis down, but lengthen up. So there's this beautiful action. It actually happens in every yoga pose. And as we root from the waistline down towards the earth, so it's almost as if energy is moving from the pelvis down the legs, through the feet into the earth. Hold that sensation, energy down the legs, through the feet into the earth, but lengthen up then out of that. So if we're really rooted, we can rise, we can lift, we can lengthen, we can have more freedom in the upper body. Draw the shoulders back, draw the elbows back, and really start to lift through the heart. So there's actually a little back bend here. So the legs are rooting down, but the heart can lift. Then from here, go slow. It's really sweet to feel the transition. Thighs root back. You're going to come all the way forward into Prasarita Padottanasana, wide-legged forward fold. This is key pose for sleep. So as you find yourself in the wide-legged forward fold, hands rest underneath the shoulders. You could actually, your head could be close to the earth if it's not, or you could have a block underneath the head just for a little more support. Take a nice deep breath in. And as you exhale, blow out all the air and actually draw the low belly up just a little bit. You might find that extra space allows you to fold slightly deeper. Forward folds are extremely calming for the mind. This is also considered a bit of an inversion where your head is below your heart. And again, inversions are one of the classes of yoga poses that are really effective for sleep. let's stay here for another conscious 5 breaths. So breathing into the belly. As you exhale, this is 5. You could experiment with some breath retention. Inhaling, holding the breath at the top for a moment. Try to slow your exhale down. If you can make your exhale slower, longer than your inhale, again, this is the shift that sort of kicks us into more of a parasympathetic nervous system response. So if you're inhaling over the count of 4, what if you made your exhale over the count of 6, or maybe even over the count of 8? All right, and then placing your hands on your waist. Just pause for a moment. Re-engage your nice, strong, and empowered legs. Press your pelvis down. Draw your shoulder blades together. And on an inhale, we'll slowly rise all the way up. Heel toe the feet back together underneath you. Pause in mountain pose with your hands resting on your heart for the purpose of just regrounding. So again, insomnia, sleep challenges happen when our head is really busy. So all the energy of the body is really up here in the headspace, which stimulates us. We want to sleep well. We have to work at pulling energy from our head down into our body, down into our belly, down into our pelvis, down into our feet, which is why wearing socks at night or even oiling the bottoms of your feet with like a unrefined sesame oil or even coconut oil, and then putting on a pair of old socks, that can create a lot of grounding for us, which takes energy from the busy mind. Believe me, I've tried all these tricks over the years. They do work. Hands come together in front of the heart. We're going to take our feet wide now. Turn the toes out a little bit so you have a bit of an external rotation. Take a breath in. And then as you exhale, we'll sink down through Malasana, which is squat pose. The only caveat is if this is really challenging for your knees, just don't do it. Just come out and extend your legs forward. But we'll pause here just for a bit. Pelvis is heavy. Spine is nice and tall. Palms are pressing together. And then from here, we'll sit all the way back and extend the legs forward. Bounce the knees just a little bit. All right, we are going to do one simple forward fold twist sequence. Then we're going to do a sort of modified shoulder stand. And then we're going to end with legs up a pole or a wall or a door. You can even use a chair. I'll explain in a moment. But sit up on the edge of a blanket. So you again have just a slight little lift. Bounce the knees a bit. We're going to draw the right knee or the right hand under the right knee to help sort of draw the knee in. People ask why I can bend my knee, why do I need my hand? I always explain that this is sort of a very compassionate act, like I'm guiding this knee in towards the body. So it's very subtle, but there is a measure of like compassion for the body, for the self that we're doing when we do that. Right foot comes towards the upper inner left thigh, so right knee out to the side. As you press your hands down into the earth, sit tall, and then feel your navel center and see if you can take your navel more in alignment with your left inner thigh. So there's just a little twist. We've been working with twist, which again are good for insomnia or sleep because they purify the system. They help release all the stress in the body so you can rest. Keeping your navel aligned with your left inner thigh, float your arms up. And then as you exhale, fold over your left leg. Hands can be on the floor. They can be on your shin, can be on blocks, so you can hold on to your foot. All right, then we're going to stay here for 5 breaths.
So rooting the entire left leg into the earth, including the left heel, pulling the left waistline back. As you inhale, this time lengthen through the spine. So feel your spine get taller. As you exhale, this is 5. Fold over the left leg a little more. Again, the inhale sort of lifts you and lengthens you. As you exhale, you use the exhale to fold. This is 4. Inhaling, breathe deeply into the belly, lengthening as you exhale. This is 3. Every number we count back, you get a little more relaxed. As you exhale, this time is 2, folding deeper. One more inhale, spine lengthens. Exhale, fold. Place the hands on the earth. Inhale, rise up. Hand comes to the outside of that right knee. Again, there's that compassionate act of pulling the right knee in. I'm sorry, my computer just binged at you. I'm going to fix it here in just a minute, but let me get you into this next pose. The right foot will step over the left, all right? Keep the left leg straight, but pull the knee in towards the chest. Once again, sit tall, left arm out to the side. As you exhale, twist to the right. So we've been doing lots of twists tonight, and so helpful at managing our nervous system. Take another breath here as you exhale. Can you go to the right just a little more? Pull the left low belly to the right. Sometimes I literally even use my hand and pull the flesh of my belly over to the right just to remind myself of what that twist action feels like. And then inhale, come back to center, straighten the right leg. Bounce those knees. Second side. Left hand sweeps underneath the left knee and you lovingly guide the left knee in towards the body. Left foot comes towards the upper inner right thigh. Sit tall. Align your navel with your right inner thigh. Keep your right leg strong. The toes of my right foot are even spread because this leg stays engaged. We always want to have a strong, steady base, even in a forward fold. If you let your right leg go into Shavasana, the stretch just isn't it's not as useful, right? So you're using the power and strength in the base of your body to open and soften through the upper body. So again, breathing here, take an inhale as you exhale, fold. Inhale, breathing deep into the belly, almost breathing down into the pelvis. I know you don't have lungs in your pelvis, but it's more of a mental, energetic awareness. Exhale, fold. Inhaling deep down into the belly, the pelvis, energy down in the base of the body. Use this full breathing out. Nice big ha sound as you fold deeper. 2 more breaths here. Inhale, just a little bit of lift. Exhale, folding. 1 more nice deep breath in. Exhale, it's your last final, blow it all out. Inhale, rise up. Left hand comes to the outside of the left knee. You guide the left knee back to center. Step the left foot over the right leg. Hug the knee in towards the body and then sit as tall as you can. Right arm comes out to the side. As you exhale, twist to the left. Inhaling, you lengthen. Exhale, you twist again to the left. It's almost as if I'm trying to pull the right side of my belly over to the left. Again, you could use a hand here if that helps. You feel the sensation more. Nice full deep breath in. And now exhale, we come back to center. Straighten the right leg and bounce the knees. All right, so we're gonna move into a fairly simple inversion. So all the inversions are like handstand, headstand, shoulder stand, and often they're complicated to teach and there can be a higher injury rate in some of these inversions, and yet they are so powerful at, again, calming the mind so that we can sleep. So I'm going to teach you tonight just a very modified shoulder stand. And you don't actually, if I taught you the full shoulder stand, we would need lots of props, multiple blankets. So this is actually not a full shoulder stand, but this is a modified shoulder stand. It's actually more of an elbow stand. So I'll show you first, and then what I want you to do is watch me and then try it on your own, because once you get into it, I don't want you to turn your head to look at the computer. We want our gaze or your monitor, your phone. I want your gaze to stay up towards the ceiling. So you'll start by coming onto your back. And by the way, if this elbow stand variation I show you doesn't work well for you, the second variation would be just to put a block underneath your sacrum, and this is your inversion, okay? But if you're going for the elbow stand, you'll lift your pelvis up, hold on to the back waistline, right? So you could start way down in halasana or plow pose, but hands rest on the back of the waist. But now what is key is my weight is coming into my elbows. In fact, it's almost like I'm letting my pelvis settle into my hands. And all the weight is in my elbows, not my shoulders. So this is key. I don't want to compress the neck without the extra use of blankets here, extra props. So just having the weight in the elbows. See if you can soften your gaze or maybe even close your eyes. And let's attempt to take a couple breaths here into the belly. Inhaling into the belly. Exhale, stay. Remember, you could also have a block underneath your sacrum here, more of a supported bridge, if that's a better option for you. Again, it's a little harder to breathe when you're upside down like this, but you are focused on inhaling into the belly. All right, to come out of this pose, bend the knees and slowly roll out. If you're up on that block, lift the hips up to move the block out and come back down. And then we're just gonna pause here, hands rest on the belly. This is a pose called constructive rest, just pausing here to observe and feel. So inversions are an interesting thing because there is some stimulation when you go upside down. But again, we're trying to sort of clear the mind. And so inversions are so good at mind clearing. When our mind is clear, we usually sleep like a baby. All right, from here, you can roll onto your right side and then come all the way back up to your seat. All right, so we're gonna do one last final pose before we do some Shavasana together, and that's legs up a wall. So I'm gonna show you a couple variations because I don't know what your setup is at home. And I'm gonna use this beautiful pole here. One variation is if you like to have a little bit of elevation. You can see I'm using a bolster here. You could use a block as well. You could use a book or a pillow, but this pose is as effective without anything under your pelvis. So you certainly don't have to use anything under your pelvis. So we start by either sitting on the bolster, just sitting flush to the floor on the floor. But the key is to start with your body touching the wall. If you start too far away, it's harder to move into this pose. So you'll swing one leg up, and the other leg, and come all the way down. And what sometimes happens is that we feel too far away from the wall. So this is the trick. You bend your knees, lift your pelvis up, and then walk your shoulders in to get more flush to the wall, right? Hands will rest on your belly. Your arms can come all the way up overhead. So this is one variation. The other variation I want to show you is with a chair. So everyone has a folding chair, or maybe even just a kitchen chair or chair in your office, wherever you are. So what this looks like here, my legs are just up on the chair. The key thing I want you to think about alignment-wise is that your knee is at an angle to your hip. So I'm not right underneath my knee, but rather my pelvis is more at an angle. Then I come down. So, and both of these are a variation of legs up the wall, Vipariti, Karani, and they're both effective. One of my teachers has called this pose instant Maui, which I love. So whichever variation you are, either your legs up the wall or your legs on a chair, we're going to stay here for a full 5 minutes. But I'm actually not going to stay in the pose, or I tend to get too relaxed and then it's hard for me to form words and teach. So I'm just going to hold space for you here, seated. So letting yourself really settle, and with restorative poses, we want to be able to find a place of relative stillness. When our bodies are sort of shaking or moving or twitching or just feel a little bit unsettled, this is totally okay. It's really natural again at this time of our world to feel some extra tension. But if you have the capacity right now to practice just deep stillness, see if you can just settle into a really nice, deep stillness. So it's as if your pelvis is descending. If you're a little bit elevated on a bolster, your legs up the wall, it's almost as if your sit bones or your buttocks are descending down towards the floor. And once again, our breath is really deep down into the belly. I'm going to teach you actually a breath practice as you rest here in legs up the wall or legs up a chair. That again is really helpful for sleep. This could even be a breath practice if you're wide awake in the middle of the night that you would just practice and might even just kick you back into sleep. So we'll be starting by inhaling 4, exhaling 4. We'll do that twice. And you inhale 4, exhale 6 twice. Keep adding. Inhale 4, exhale 8 twice. Then we try to move our way up to a inhale 4, exhale 10. Maybe even inhale 4, exhale 12. Sometimes that's a little much. If you ever feel anxious because you're exhaling too long, that's the cue that you're exhaling too long, and take another inhale. So let's just try this together. So just feel yourself once again settle into this nice inversion here. Feel your skin soften, serving the space around you and within you. Whatever air is in the lungs, just blow it out now. So we start together. And we'll inhale 2, 3, 4. Exhale 2, 3, 4. Inhale 2, 3, 4. Exhale 2, 3, 4. Inhale 2, 3, 4. Exhale 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale 2, 3, 4. Exhale 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale 2, 3, 4. Exhale 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale 2, 3, 4. Exhale 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale 2, 3, 4. Exhale 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale 2, 3, 4. Exhale 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Last time, inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Big inhale, big exhale. All right, let's just pause and rest. One more full minute here. Just observe and feel the effects of that breath practice and the various sensations in your body. All right, so you have some options. You can either stay here and legs up the wall. This is a very safe pose to stay in for up to 20 minutes. And it's actually even a pose you could do in the middle of night if you're having trouble sleeping. So if it feels good to stay here, stay here. Otherwise, now would be a nice time to transition. I'm actually going to move a little closer to the camera as I hold space for you, but now would be a good time to transition to Shavasana. So if you prefer to just settle into Shavasana, make sure that you're warm enough. Make sure that you're covered with a blanket and make sure that you have socks on. And then just allow yourself to fully settle in. Again, I'll just be holding that sacred space for you as you give yourself such beautiful permission to really settle in and relax. This last pose, Shavasana, or if you're still in legs up the wall, these are poses of integration. They're poses that allow us to really give our bodies and minds time for the practice to sink in. So now again, whatever pose you're ending your practice with tonight, give yourself this time to now release the breath. So we've been focusing on the breath a lot, but now is the time to release any shaping of the breath and just let the breath be now involuntary. Nothing to accomplish right now, nothing to reach for or remember. Just a chance to practice what it feels like to stay open and receptive in a state of receiving this deep gift of just rest. I'll be quiet now and mind the time as you give yourself the space to deeply rest.
And so wherever you are, breathe in and breathe out. And before you even yet move, just let your awareness expand as you take in sensations in your body, as you take in the space around you, maybe even the subtle sounds in your room. And when you're ready, start to move a little bit, fingers, toes, wiggle around. Eventually, you stretch your arms up overhead and roll off onto your right side into the fetal position for a moment. And then eventually make your way all the way back up to your seat. And as you arrive back in the seat, I just encourage you to see if you can, I call it a somatic snapshot, sort of take a snapshot of where you are in this moment. So more relaxed, more clear-headed, more space in the body and the mind. And it's just like you take a snapshot, you take a remembrance of the fact that you have this capacity to move back down the scale to a much more calm state, and that tonight when you are ready for bed, you take this calm state with you into the sleep. Let's bring our hands together in front of the heart. Take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, just bow in gratitude and really reverence for yourself, for your beautiful body, mind, and heart, and your capacity and desire for continued learning and transformation. So thank you all. Namaste. So much love to all of you. Thank you for joining. Before you tune off, I want to share this mantra for sleep. And I didn't do it during the practice because it's really, the mantra is only supposed to be used at night if you're having trouble sleeping. So if you have a pen and pencil nearby, you might want to write it down. I'll actually type it as a message, and so you might be able to see it here in a moment. And if you, again, email me or put your email in that chat box, I'll send you the recording from tonight, and I'll also send you the mantra. So the mantra is Om Agasti Shahina. So mantras typically are always in Sanskrit. There's something about Sanskrit that seems to reverberate deeply in the body. It's one of the oldest languages. So Om, O-M, Agasti, A-G-A-S-T-I, Agasti, Shahina, S-H-A-H-I-N-A, Shahina, S-H-A-H-I-N-A, Om Agasti Shahina. So I literally use this mantra anytime I wake up in the middle of the night. So if I wake up in the middle of the night, my mind turns on and then I can't fall back asleep. But if I come back immediately to that mantra, Om Agasti Shahina, I pretty quickly fall back into sleep. So it's a powerful mantra. I like to think it's because it's kind of a complicated one. I mean, so many Sanskrit mantras are much more simple than this. So it's almost like it's using your brain to remember the mantra so that you don't have to think about what's keeping you up in the middle of the night. So maybe put it on a little sticky note and put it next to the side of your bed because you won't remember it in the middle of the night. And if you really are having struggles falling back asleep, just repetitively repeat internally, so not out loud, but to yourself, Om Agasti Shahina. Okay? All right, mwah. Blessings to all of you. I'm going to turn my camera off here in a moment and turn the recording off, but I'll stay online. I won't end the meeting yet. So if you want to type anything in that chat box or have any questions or want to give me your email so that I can send you the recording, go for it. All right, so blessings, and I hope you sleep very deeply tonight. Bye. Namaste.